film you are watching is The Negro Soldier, a 1944 documentary produced by the U.S. Army's Special Services Division and Hollywood's famed director Frank Capra. The film chronicles accomplishments by African Americans throughout American history, emphasizing their participation in U.S. armed conflicts dating from the American Revolution to World War II. Although the order for desegregation of the military services did not occur until 1948 and took many years to implement, The Negro Soldier represents an early effort by the Army to use film to show the significant contributions of African Americans to the U.S. war effort. In 2011, The Negro Soldier was chosen to be preserved in the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress. This film's place in history was ensured by the specialized work of the Motion Picture Sound and Video Branch and the Special Media Preservation Laboratory of the National Archives and Records Administration. We are the caretakers of one of the largest audiovisual collections in the United States, and whether it's footage of the Bay of Pigs invasion, or sound recordings of the interrogation of Nazi war criminals, or a documentary film on the apprehension of Bonnie and Clyde, it is our mission to preserve and make available to the public our government's historic images and sounds. In order to see how this is done, we'll follow the life cycle of the classic documentary film, The Negro Soldier, from the time of its arrival here at the archives to its place on the shelf in the research room and into our online catalog, where it will be available to researchers both here in the United States and around the globe. The processing work begins when the accession containing The Negro Soldier arrives at the archives and the film cans are unboxed.
Some government agencies send thousands of films at the same time, and other times we only get a few, and you never know what you're going to find. Sometimes the boxes are filled with old, rusty metal film cans with no identification. And other times, the films are neatly packed in a box with a full set of titles and film formats, and if we're really, really lucky, a full set of descriptions. After initial appraisal agreements are finalized between the archives and the federal agencies that created them, we use our own established criteria in our evaluation of each film. This helps us make retention and disposal decisions. For example, does the film document important activities of the agency? Is this a film that would exist at another library or archive? Are important people captured in the movie? These are all the kinds of things we take into consideration.
The first step in the processing workflow is to identify the title of the film, see if it exists anywhere else in our holdings, gather together all the film's elements, and label them with an identifying number that will remain with all components of the film when it is later recanned, shelved, and cataloged. An inventory is drawn up that captures all of this information.
What makes motion picture processing unique and complicated is that a single film may not be just a single reel. A movie may have its visuals on several reels, with its narration and its music tracks also on several reels. So a single film could have enough components to fill up 1 or 2 boxes. Now, in the case of The Negro Soldier, we have a film that plays out over 5 reels, with its soundtrack and its visuals combined on a single strip of film.
Our film is now ready for its next destination, the Preservation Laboratory.
Welcome to the Motion Picture Preservation Lab. We have 6 enthusiastic staff members with the specialized skills that enable the National Archives to preserve and protect America's historic motion picture collection. To do this, we evaluate the condition of our original films and prepare them for cold storage so that we can keep them as long as possible. We copy to newer film stock or digital formats when deterioration of the original puts the images at risk of being lost. Every day, we handle films that might not exist if care had not been taken to retain and preserve them. We work on material that covers a wide range of content and condition, from deteriorated 16mm color footage from World War II to pristine camera negatives shot for educational films in the 1980s. Today, we're working on The Negro Soldier.
When we inspect films, we're looking for signs of deterioration. We're measuring acidity levels and shrinkage, and we make repairs so that the film is ready to be transferred or played back. Sometimes we can spend an entire day repairing a single reel of film. We're identifying film elements in order to make sure that the original is given the highest level of protection and that only duplicate copies are available in the research room. We inspect about 4 million feet of film a year, but even at that rate, it would take us almost 300 years to look at every reel in the collection.
As long as we can purchase film stock, we'll continue to do film-to-film preservation. Digital is a great tool for providing access and doing restoration work, but it's not a great tool for long-term preservation. Whether we're going from film to film or digitizing for access, there are certain steps we always go through. For each title, we do all of the inspection and hands-on repair of the original elements to make sure they won't be damaged if we run them on the equipment. For reels we're printing, we also time them to ensure that the new copies will remain faithful to the original copy. We clean them and then print them on our printers. We have a wide range of printers. We have one that was made in the 30s, one that was made in the 50s, and one that is relatively new to the archives. We choose the printer based on the condition of the original film because the printers have different handling capabilities. We then process the film and do quality control to make sure that everything is turned out the way it's supposed to. For the Negro Soldier, we're creating a new film copy and a digitally restored copy. With the film copy, we can place it on a shelf in a managed storage environment, and it will last upwards of 500 years. With the digital file, if it's not managed and migrated, it may only last up to 5 years.
Although we still use film stock as our primary preservation format, motion pictures are being digitized in the lab for a variety of purposes. When researchers ask to see films that do not already have reference copies available, we transfer the reels on our HD scanner and make DVDs for public access. We save the files for later use in the National Archives online catalog or to be posted on social media sites. In addition, we digitize high-profile titles and films that are too fragile to be copied on our printers at greater resolutions of 2K or 4K for access and preservation.
This is our preservation level film scanner. It creates digital files that preserve and protect the essence and the characteristics of the film stock itself, namely the film grain, the color properties, and the saturation, density, and contrast levels that exist in the film original are carried forward to the digital file. Now, we've used this equipment to scan films such as The March and The Negro Soldier, which have stable film elements, but generate enough public interest to warrant high-resolution film scanning. This is our digital workstation. Once the reels have been scanned, we use software to do overall density and color corrections. We also can use restoration tools like a scratch tool and a dust tool on a scene-by-scene basis if needed. Once preservation projects have been completed, we preserve the raw and the corrected file permanently.
Now that the Negro Soldier has been inspected, cleaned, and copied, it is ready for its next step, description. We can use the digitized DVD, or we can load one of the clean prints onto our flatbed screening machine to view for descriptive purposes, without running the risk of damaging either the film or our machinery.
Just having a title in our catalog is often not enough. Ideally, we'll view the film in order to enter information into ARC, our online catalog. We'll describe the movie's themes, its intended audience, any important historical figures or locations that are shown, that sort of thing. Sometimes, as was the case with the Negro Soldier, we'll receive original description in the form of shot lists or production files. All this information can then be combined with the Preservation Lab's inspection sheet data on the length of the film, the original, reproduction, and viewing copies that now exist, and what their formats are. Once viewed and described, our film must be secured in the proper storage area with regard to temperature and humidity to minimize the deterioration of the film over time. Original, reproduction, and reference copies are each stored in their own location. Archival preservation color film is typically stored in a vault at 25 degrees Fahrenheit, 30% relative humidity. This colder temperature prevents color film from fading over time. Our black and white reproduction copy of the Negro Soldier, however, will be stored at a much warmer temperature, 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 30% relative humidity.
With one or more viewing copies available in our research room. Researchers who come here can view this or other films on our flatbed screeners, or watch reference video cassettes and DVDs on our players. In most cases, researchers can make copies by using their own equipment or by using equipment available in the research room. The access we provide to government films at the National Archives is unparalleled. We get researchers in from all over the world who are amazed at the availability of our holdings.
The National Archives has now completed its work on the Negro Soldier. The original film will stay preserved on our shelf with multiple copies on hand for duplication and viewing. Its message will be saved for current and future historians, educators, and documentarians. Anyone with an interest in this subject, or countless other topics, both national and international in scope, can visit our facility in College Park, Maryland, or access our holdings online.